Hi everyone, welcome back to the Rebel Crow Psychic Show with your host Athena Silver.
Hi guys, I'm Anja River.
Tonight we're talking about celebrating the return of the ancestor spirits. We are in the thick of October, the witchy season as everybody calls it, spooky season. But really it's more than that. It's when the ancestors cross through the thinning veil and come back home to be with us during the Halloween and All Saints and All Souls Day. Many people also refer to it as Dia de Los Muertos or the Day of the Dead. Are you excited, Anja?
It's our season.
Yeah.
It's our season. All right. Yes, I'm totally excited. I love this season. Before I even really connected, you were so connected to our Hispanic side.
Yeah.
And, in a lot of ways I've been disconnected from the traditions, but before, a long time ago, I felt like I naturally just wanted to do this around this time period. I would set up a little thing for my grandfather, our grandfather who passed away, and had the candles, and then it was all so intuitive, which is really interesting because having this conversation with you gave me a lot of knowledge beforehand about different places around the world that all actually engage in these practices or have long histories of engagement in venerating the ancestors around this time.
Yeah.
So
it's on a global scale. I mean, ancestor veneration is as old as human beings. I mean, they have evidence of Stone Age people, prehistoric people, venerating their ancestors and preparing them for the afterlife and coming back and grieving and, burying their dead. So this is not just one place globally. This happens all over the place. The traditions look different to different people, just like how religion is. We all celebrate, God, the universe, the energies in the universe, the spirits. We just all have different names for it. The same thing goes for ancestor veneration. There's many, many, many different cultures that practice it in one guise or another.
Yeah.
With celebrating, the ancestors, that there is a deep tradition that comes from Europe, which most people are not familiar. Most people think, Day of the Dead, ancestor veneration, their minds go straight to Mexico, and they have one hell of a tradition.
Yeah.
Beautiful, right. Colorful, vibrant, festive. They take death and bring it happiness and joy and love and compassion. But yes, theirs is the most familiar. But there's other traditions out there. Not many people are aware of that. People in medieval Spain, from their Celtic heritage, they practice a form of ancestor veneration. Before Columbus came over to the Americas, they practiced their feast in the springtime. Once Columbus came over, there was a lot of people being converted to Christianity. There was a lot of expectations. There was a lot of, heat on the people. But one of the concessions that they made was to syncretize that ancestor feast with the feast of the indigenous people, because they both were bringing these two cultures together during that time. So people think that there was a cultural exchange one way, but in fact it went both ways, because some of those traditions that the Aztecs and indigenous people practiced actually went back to Spain and back into Europe, and well as having their own. It
was a two-way kind of exchange, which is
yes.
Interesting. So wait, I have a question.
Sure.
So you're saying that the Spanish side was celebrated mostly in spring, and then was the Mesoamerican traditions, those were in the fall like we have right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Those were in the fall, which was why the Spanish who came over, they went to syncretize their beliefs with the beliefs of the Aztec indigenous people to make it more appealing to convert to Christianity. They
Mhm.
were selling it for, selling it to them.
Yeah, right. It's
And,
like most Caribbean cultures, it's all a mashup
oh,
of the European, the indigenous, in the case of the Caribbean, it's also the African traditions.
of course, but unfortunately, sometimes it was on your own free will, and sometimes it was you had a sword in your face.
Right.
So there is an element, that you do have to remember with some of these cultural exchanges is they were forced cultural exchanges in some of the cases,
Right.
and when in the case of the Americas, it was very much a forced cultural, exchange and compromise.
How
Um,
similar were they? Do you know anything about that? Like how similar the traditions were before
Um,
syncretism?
I'm not hugely, versed in those particular traditions. Um, I do know that it was very much about going and, talking about your ancestors and teaching the younger ones about the stories of the ancestors and who was a warrior and who was honorable and how they passed and how it brought honor to the family. And it was at that time, from what I can understand, like I said, I'm not an expert in this particular,
Mhm.
field, but from what I could gather, that it was to bring honor to, it was very deep. It was on a
Mhm.
very deep level, and it was on a society level as well. It was like bred into the society.
Mhm.
Very
Right.
much kind of like how ancient Rome had a government, run religion. It was very much like that, just in a different, they had their own flavor.
Yeah. What
But
are
there was gods that, everybody had to make sacrifice to or had to make honor and make offering to. So, and if somebody didn't, do their part, it the collective civilization society felt like, they were compromised. So everybody had to pitch in.
Mhm. Oh, so is this kind of also um in that culture? Because I feel like more with the Mexican, and I can't speak with authority because I don't have roots in those specifically Mexican traditions, but like like it sounds like what you're saying is that you honor these ancestors from the Spanish side. You're honoring these ancestors so that they protect you. Am I getting it right? Like,
It's a two-way street. You want to ask for protection and for favors and for abundance and, for their what they can provide you.
mhm,
And you're also giving kind of a cultural understanding to the other people in the household that don't understand it. It's a way of preserving culture down the generations. And
mhm,
it's to you want to honor them. You want to honor them for the lives that they lived, for the knowledge that they passed it down to the family, the sacrifices they made for the family. You want to give them light in the afterlife, because in the afterlife, it can be dark depending on where you are, and you always want to give love and light to help elevate their spirits so that they don't have to suffer, so that
yeah,
they can elevate higher and higher and meet their purpose.
right. That's
So
beautiful.
it's very deeply spiritual, which, I will say with this, for ancestor veneration, it varies in how deep the level is depending on the culture. Some subcultures, they just want to have a meal, have a favorite meal, or
Mhm,
some just want to say prayers, or some just want to light candles, and some want to do all of the above, set altars, have a parade, make
right.
beautiful portraits of that. It's not the same everywhere you go. It's very different. There's sub traditions that go in there. There's also family specific traditions, which I'm going to talk about our family specific tradition, if that's okay with you, love.
Of course, yeah.
So we both grew up in a Puerto Rican Dominican family. Now, there was quite a bit of folk influence in those traditions that were brought through with the family. They were celebrated in different ways throughout the years, but the from what I remember, from what our great grandmother taught me, was setting the altar on the middle of the table, bringing flowers, pouring offerings of rum and black coffee, and putting out some tobacco, cooking different meals for that were the favorite of the spirits, setting out photos and candles to give light and love for those spirits, welcoming them home, setting a place for them collectively at the table to signify that they're home, that they're returned, right. And talking around the table about the good times, about that crazy time where we went here and we did that, and how much fun it was, and how we wish we could do it again. We also saying the names of those spirits to remind us that they are part of us and we are part of them, that we're right. A continuation of what they started.
So this is a great night to go and look through your old family albums.
Oh yeah, that's what we did. We would break out the photos and pass them around, and hey, you know who this is? Oh yeah, that's the one that did this. This is, it's very personal. It's, we cry, we laugh, we all drink a little. It's different. I choose to keep my altar up for 3 days, and I set it differently for the different days and so what spirits are being honored. Huh?
Can you talk about what you do different? Because, I have my altar up throughout the year, and I know there's definitely more visitation during this time, even though I don't go as elaborate as you do. Usually I'll just put out like some food and just be more available. I'm more quiet, I guess, in the way that I communicate, so I'll just kind of set more time aside and put some treats out, like things that I know certain people like.
Yeah. I set it differently on, there's one day that I devote strictly to the spirits of the children who've passed away. Mm-hmm. And then I set one specifically for the elder ancestors, the ones that were very, very old. Mm-hmm. But I set a separate altar for them just for that feast. I set it in the middle of my dining room table, and it's multi-tiered, stocked with photos. I don't want to get too specific about what I put on there. It's very personal, but I set it differently for the different days and the different spirits I want to honor. And I give them specific offerings to those spirits.
So like you and I have our altars set for the people that we knew that passed, but this goes back even like way further.
Oh yeah. And I honor all 4 of the lineages that come together to make me. Mm-hmm. So it's not just I'm honoring one specific spirit or a specific group. The day that I'm honoring the old ones, I'm honoring all of the old ones, the ones that I don't even know.
Have you had any, I don't know if you have or not, we didn't really talk about it, but have you had any interesting experiences in coming in contact with ancestors that were like so far back that, they came through this time? Can you talk about it?
Yeah, I can. I had an ancestor that visited me in the middle of the night and scared the hell out of me. Cause I literally thought it was like somebody breaking in my house. Yeah. It was it manifested very, very full bodied. And, I didn't recognize this ancestor. And as soon as it was dark in my house, it was black, I was going to the bathroom right before going back to sleep. And I just caught it at the corner of my eye. And I was like, oh my God. And then I looked back and I just heard a voice in my head that said, you don't have to be afraid. I'm family. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, okay. And I asked the spirit why it was here. And he said that he was coming to visit me to make sure I was okay, and that he does it every year. And
Aw.
he was just telling me basically, I'm right where I need to be. And
Do you know
that
how?
he just checks in to make sure that I'm where I need to be, and that's what it is. He said some other things that I don't want to share, but more so it was like a, wellness check.
Do you know how old he was? Like what side of the family he came from?
He came from the side of the family of ours that came from the Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
He was dressed as, an Amazon Native American.
Well, this is way back
Oh
because
yeah, he had the crown of feathers and everything. And he was carrying like a wooden spear that was taller than him. It was like sharpened at the top. I remember he had like, it looked like he had feather like anklets kind of like around his ankles.
okay.
They were
Yeah,
blue.
a little like jarring when you see that in your house, like, and you're not expecting it.
Yeah, and I was just like, it just caught me off guard because I'm like, why is there somebody from the Amazon in my residential house? Like,
in the suburbs.
yeah, it's like you came really far. Like, how was that flight? I couldn't imagine going through security with a spear was easy.
That's amazing though. Yeah, that's really amazing. So like now I know I have to expand my practices a little bit because I know you and I have talked off camera like previously, like, many months ago about this. And, since I have my ancestor altar, which is really just the recently passed ancestors.
Yes.
Which I don't even know if you would technically call them ancestors, like if you knew them in your life. I don't know.
It's more of a shrine, I feel, because I
Yeah.
have a kind of an elaborate setup when it comes to, I've a couple of different altars that I work at.
Mhm.
Not gonna give a whole lot of detail because it's very personal, but I have one that's specifically for people who have passed away that we knew, or that I knew,
Mhm.
that were family. And then I have another altar that I work with the ancestors that are very old.
Right.
So I also have, an altar that I put up to service spirits that are like had hard lives. Especially I make, I try to give I put a candle for them and cold water, but I don't offer them any kind of food offerings or drink offerings. Ooh, I just saw a spirit. Food offerings or drink offerings because they need elevation more than anything. And the candle is really there to guide them. I'm very, do not set an altar for them if you do not know what you're doing, because it needs to be set up in a very particular way.
You mean the ones that have that
Have had hard lives and that died tragically, like ODs or people who've taken their lives, people who wronged a lot of people in their lifetime. You don't want to put them on your ancestral shrine. You want to, I would say don't work with them unless you know what you're doing, because there's a lot that can go wrong there, and it's got to get set up a particular way.
But most people can work with
Work with your enlightened ancestors. I would say go work with very old ancestors. They're the ones that the work has already been done. They've had millennia to get their stuff together. Those are the healthy ones you want to call in when you are venerating ancestors.
Right. That was a great class. I was like remembering Daniel Forrest's class on how to work with and heal the ancestral line. Just thought you said that.
Yeah, well, he's very much right on how to deal with them. He's an expert. Shout out to Daniel Forrest. If you want to really know about ancestor veneration, get his book, Ancestral Medicine. We're going to drop it in the description link below if you want to check it out.
Down too, because I need a little refresher myself.
Yeah, it's a wonderful book. He also does courses and stuff with it too. We're not affiliated with him at all. We're just fangirls. He's an amazing teacher.
Totally.
Yeah, he's an amazing teacher. And on this show, we're honest with you guys. If there's somebody that's worth your time, we're going to let you know about it. We're not going to give you people who haven't been vetted, who, you know, we don't know about. We're honest. We keep it real. We're going to tell you exactly what it is. Mm-hmm. And with Daniel 4, his stuff is legit.
Yeah.
You know, we both took his class, and I can tell you it was very transformational for me. It helped me sort out a lot of stuff.
It was for me as well. And, you know, just thinking like it would be a great gift to the ancestors to go revisit that stuff, because like as much as, you know, I have like my shrine and I've had it for a really long time and I work with it, you know, this is good. It's good to remember, like, it's not just the people that you knew, you know, like you really, really can do a lot more by going back, you know, to the well ones from 1,000 years ago. And so, you know, when we took that class together, like I got my first taste of doing that. That was a long time ago we took that class. You know, I got my first taste of doing that, but like, it's something that, you know, I think I would like to incorporate it more into my normal practice.
Yeah.
You know, normal repertoire of practices. How often do you work with the old ancestors? Do you do it regularly or just like on this annual basis?
No, it's regular for me. It's pretty much daily. In one guise or another. I'm either praying to them, lighting a candle, or I'm doing an altar service and calling them back in to say, hey guys, your house is clean. Mm-hmm. Or making offerings, or I'm petitioning them for help, or I'm thanking them for their help. It's an ongoing relationship. It's just as if they were here, you know, like you have a grandmother. You're not just going to like see your grandmother once a year and think it's all right. You know, you want to go see her regularly, make sure she has everything she needs, make sure that her house is clean and she's living good and she's not going hungry and that her pipes work, you know, like you want to take care of them. If they're going to take care of you, you need to take care of them. It's reciprocal.
Right.
And it's good to have a routine. And, you know, there's times where I will light the altar, I will call them in, and I will just sit there and I'll say the prayers and I'll sit and I'll listen. I'll ask a question. I might pull some cards to see what they say, you know. During the feast day, you know, the feast celebration of the ancestors, you know, in the fall, in October 31st to November 2nd, during those 3 days, I give myself 3 very in-depth readings just for me. It's just advice that I'm asking my ancestors for the whole year. What do I need to know this year?
It's like New Year, isn't it?
It is. It is a new year, because I want to know how I'm going to end this year. What do I have to do to end this year right, to bring in the right energies for the next year? What am I supposed to be doing with myself? What do I need to watch out for? What do I need to release? What do I need to attract? You know, what do you all you spirits want me to do for this year? What is my goal? What do I have to accomplish? Mm-hmm. You know, I go deep and I take my notes, and I've been doing it for probably about 15 years.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And I keep those notes, and I'll tell you, I go back to them every now and again, and I'm like, whoa, this is what they meant. All right. I'm telling you, for last year, 2019, I got a lot of really strange cards asking about 2020. I had a feeling something big was going to happen. They didn't specifically say exactly what was going to happen. But when it happened, I was like, oh, that's what they were referring to. Okay.
Do you remember any specifics?
I'm sorry?
Do you remember any specifics?
Yeah.
Which card? Or
the 10 of Swords, the 8 of Swords, and I believe the 3 of Swords.
I feel like the 8 of Swords is so saying like you're gonna be stuck inside your house.
Yeah. You're gonna be stuck inside your house. It's gonna be anxiety. People are gonna die, you know, and you're gonna be heartbroken. There's a lot of things that are gonna happen there.
Yeah.
And
well, I remember it was so weird because like right before COVID came out, like, that it was here, our grandfather was here, and like I thought he was here for someone specifically in the family, but it turned out like I knew he was here, and like and it was just it was different, you know, like it was an interesting different thing, but I got this feeling that it was something, he was here, it was really big, there was a reason why he was here, you know, and something big was about to happen. I just thought it was about a person specifically, and it turned out that it wasn't.
Yeah,
So
he was checking on the family.
I was like,
It's funny you
oh,
say it because he had visited me around the same time.
mhm.
And it was a watching perspective. You know, we didn't really talk. He just wanted to watch. And I'm like, okay, he's checking up on something. Like, I'm not going to bother asking, you know, I'm going to let him do his thing.
Yeah, I definitely got the, like, yeah, it was interesting, you know, like
Yeah,
it
well,
was,
I
mhm.
had some wild stuff come up in those readings. Um, I knew that we were going to have a very interesting election in 2016 because of
Mhm.
the cards that I had gotten in 2015.
Really,
Um, I don't remember the cards specifically, but I knew that there was gonna be an upset there. There was gonna be a shift in balance.
hmm,
And when it happened, I was like, again, oh, that's what you mean. Okay. You know,
yeah,
and I go back to those readings and I write notes in the margin. You know, this happened. This is how this manifested. Because it helps me on an intuitive level to know what signs mean what. If I'm consistently getting this card and this is the outcome that keeps happening, I know that when I see this card next time, I know exactly what's going to happen.
right,
So as much data as you can get with your readings and you go back to them and you fill in the blanks, it really helps open up your gift. You
yeah,
understand it. You learn the language of the spirits so that when they do come to you, you know how to communicate and you know what these signs and symbols mean.
right, yeah. No, that's absolutely true. I've been keeping my tarot journal for a while now. I actually just filled it up today.
Nice. Congratulations. That's a big deal. Closing the old book and starting the new. That's a new
Yeah.
cycle.
It's not my first tarot journal by any means, but like I brought it up because I was like, I kind of thought I had more pages than I had, and I was like, I'm not ready, you know. Like,
Yeah.
move on. But I love going back as well and like seeing, you know, in my journal, like I also keep the astrology of the day, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like I'll know where the moon is, what sign we're in, what moon sign we're in, and if there's any major things going on. And mostly do this every single day. But, you know, just to your point of like it's interesting going back and saying like I'll pull you know, a collective consciousness card, and then I'll pull like a personal card, and then sometimes you're just like I don't see it right now, but then you go back like even like a week later and you're like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, sometimes you got to go back, you know, that hindsight and correct what you're seeing. You know, it
Oh,
helps you understand your gift.
today was really interesting because, and I'm sorry we're a little off topic right now, but
Yeah,
today
we'll
was
get back to it.
really interesting because I started pulling like multiple decks, you know. So like I'll do a collective consciousness and a personal from one deck. I'll do a collective consciousness and personal from another deck, and then I'll do a third deck. And they all kind of lined up. Like they all lined up. So it was like it was pretty interesting. And I just started, you know, doing that for multiple decks. Like I'm like, I don't want to do just one deck. Like I'll do a bunch and see
Yeah.
how it goes. But anyway, back to our regularly scheduled topic.
Hey,
Sorry.
you know, I like to veer off to sidetrack. So anyway, you know, some of the things that are important if you want to incorporate your own altar and set it for your ancestors, if you want to get into it. Read Daniel Forrest's book. He does not specifically talk about ancestor feasting or anything like that and that nature and setting altar. You know, he talks more of on a devotional daily practice and the ancestral medicine work to repair the lines. Now, what we're talking about is more of an altar for celebration purposes. They call them feast altars. What you set with your feast altars, you always make sure if you ever have any photos, that is only photos of people who have passed away. Never put photos of people who are still alive on your altar. It's
Right.
just, it's energetically not a good thing. It can hurt their energies, and it can actually cross them and cause harm to them. So some people feel very fatigued. It just messes with your energies.
Mhm.
Um, You want to set a glass of cold water, a white candle, always white.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have, something for them to drink, whether it's coffee, if they enjoyed coffee, if it's rum, if it's tequila, if it's vodka, whatever their thing is, you want to set them a drink. If they were smokers, you want to give them some tobacco, a smoke, a cigar, maybe some cannabis if that's their thing, if it's legal in your state.
Some fresh flowers or
fresh flowers, always fresh flowers. Never go plastic flowers.
Yeah.
It's all about life and death.
Right? Like a potted plant.
I'm sorry?
Like a potted plant works well too, right?
Yeah, you could do a potted plant.
Fresh flowers are better, but
I would say that the spirits do prefer cut flowers, in my opinion. But see what your spirits like. They may not mind it.
Yeah.
I know marigolds are a favorite for spirits because the aroma attracts them in and helps them come home. It's all about making you always want to clean your house before you set that altar. You want to clean it. You want to make sure it's sweet smelling. You may want to spray some perfume, especially if it's their favorite. You may want to, burn some incense, some resins, copal, something like that. Palo Santo is good. You want to make the air inviting. You want to create sacred space to help welcome them in. I also make sure I do a lot of protection work, and I refresh my yearly protection routine during this time because the spirits are here. They're really able to help you. If you want help, this is time, So I'll go through and I'll redo all the defenses that I have integrated into my house. So it's just a thought.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. Like it really is like New Year, like you're going through updating your practices, updating your protection methods. I've already learned so much from tonight, and I have a regular altar going all year round. So this is wonderful.
Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it, but you want to keep it personal to your family and honoring them the way that they would want to be honored. If you have very Christian ancestors and you want to honor them, read some passages from the Bible, say some prayers, in the traditional sense, like some Our Fathers or, some Hail Marys in there, if that's their tradition.
I think people get caught up on that too, but like you have to remember it's for them, not for you. Like you're making your guests welcome.
Yes, but you can also speak from the heart. That is accepted too. It's what you feel called to do. It's what that they would enjoy. You're making guests feel welcome in your home. You're welcoming your family home. Right. So that's the mindset you want to take when you're setting these altars. Is another spirit. They are really enjoying this conversation tonight. I just keep seeing flashes of light everywhere. So, it's about making them feel good. I love playing music. For our family spirits, they prefer bachata, merengue, salsa music, some reggaeton. It's like legitimately like a fiesta up in here. We have like parties go and the energy of it feels like they're like I'm sitting like standing in a dance hall.
Are you sure reggaeton is for them and not for you?
It's for some of them, all right? Nah, I play what I know that they like. And, there are times where I'll even get signs for requests. So I'm like, oh, great, I'm your DJ now. All right, you want another one? All right. But it's all about bringing the love back home. It's a family celebration. It's a celebration of love. And it's love for the people who've passed away so that you keep them very close to your heart. I can tell you that it's deeply, healing. I find it really healing for grief, because they're not far away. They're in your home. They're close to you. You can feel them. You're connecting with them actively. It's a way to bring closure to your life, and to their life, and to make it alleviates the sorrow and the grieving, because you're grieving with purpose and you're doing it with happiness in your heart. It's a very deep, very spiritual experience.
And you really do feel them all around. Like the veil is thin and you know, I have my usual collection of people who stop by, but like during this time, like you feel all these different energies.
Oh, definitely.
So it's really interesting, you know, like it's pretty cool.
I have a very strange story. Well, it's the last one we'll share, you know. When I moved into the house that I live in now, the first year we were here, it freaked me out the day before, like the night before Halloween. I started feeling spirits walking in a row down the road, just the same way, going down past my house and out towards
Yeah.
the woods. And every year that I've been here, I feel it and I see it, and it's just a continuous line of spirits just doing the same path. And it's they're doing it, there's like they're coming home, but they're coming home in such a way, and there's some sort of like transit route that they're following that cuts past my house. So I've gotten to the practice of leaving a little bit of, you know, a little bit of offering for them, because those are the spirits that they don't have a home anymore. Their families aren't there. They're not being acknowledged. They're not being honored. So I try to give them a little bit of love, and I'll say a special prayer for these souls that keep walking in this line continuously year after year.
And I'll back you up on that, because I've been to your house around that time and I was just like shook.
Yeah.
You know, like, out by my car, like on that road, I was just like, oh
it makes trick-or-treating extremely creepy.
You know, I had to like put some protection around my car, because I'm like, you can't come home with me.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's another reason why I do all that protection work in the beginning of the day. And as you get closer to midnight on the 31st of October, it's like it amplifies hour by hour. It gets so heavy feeling, and the energy just completely shifts, and it gets really intense. I typically have a really hard time sleeping from the 31st to November 1st. It's usually very hard for me to sleep, and I usually have very crazy dreams.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, anyway, we hope you guys enjoyed this podcast tonight. I know we kind of went in a little bit of a different direction. You know, above all, we want you to understand that, you know, just because, you know, you may not have ancestry from Mexico, that does not mean that you cannot, you know, connect with your ancestors. We all have ancestors. We all come with ancestral practices. You know, you've got to do what feels right for you. You've got to connect with your own ancestors, because it brings you wholeness on a whole nother level, and it's worth it. It's worth taking the time. You know, make sure you guys like, follow, and subscribe at Rebel Crow Psychic Show. If you want to have a reading with me, Athena Silver, I do tarot readings, mediumship readings, spiritual cleansing, and spiritual guiding and mentorship. You can find it on my website, readingswithathenasilver.com. My Instagram is athena.silver. My Facebook is Readings with Athena Silver. And my TikTok is Athena_silver. How can they get a hold of you, Anja?
Hey, so I am on Facebook and Instagram at Anja River, ANJARIVER, and you can connect with me for a tarot reading as well.
Awesome. We hope to catch you guys next week. We're going to be releasing another episode on Thursday, every Thursday. If you want to see any events that we're going to be doing virtual psychic fairs and everything like that throughout the month. You can check it out on our website, rebelcrowpsychicshow.com, and enjoy the rest of your night. Much love.
Bye.
Bye.